Hi guys, I'm sorry if this goes blurry at all. I'm trying to keep the noise down because I've got neighbours and they have a daughter as well who literally sleeps like right next door. I hear her crying all the time. I'm going to talk to you guys today about what Pocd is. It's something that I've suffered with my whole life pretty much, like from as long as I can remember. Like a really young child I had it, certain amounts of it. I'm going to explain to you what it is and then we'll go from there. I'm not going to do an intro or an outro for this video because it's going to be really raw, it's going to be really real. I'm really anxious. I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression. I am not a paedophile. I would never dream of hurting a child. I'm not a nasty person at all. It's just OCD. It's pedophilia themed OCD, and I'm going to go into what that all means, because you guys might be thinking, what, if you guys don't even know what OCD is? This may feel like really weird, so I'm going to go into it. Bear with me as well because I'm a little bit autistic, so I might not make sense a lot of the time, but hopefully I do. As I mentioned, POCD stands for Pedophilia OCD. It's Pedophilia themed OCD. OCD is Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. You get an obsession, which is an intrusive thought that you don't want. It reoccurs in your mind over and over again. You do compulsions to get rid of the thought, whether that be pushing the thought away or overthinking the thought, to check the thought, like go in your mind and check the thought just to make sure that you never did anything inappropriate or whether you actually turned the cooker off, you know, that type of thing. Disorder is self-explanatory. It's a disorder. You live with it for pretty much your whole life. I know psychiatrists may say different, but I personally have had OCD my whole entire life. It's the way I think, it's the way I've always thought, and nobody can get rid of it. You just learn to deal with it and improve on it over time, and I will give you some tips in this video, which is what's helped me with this paedophilia themed OCD. It is fucking terrible. It's horrible. It's the most worst OCD you could ever have. It's the worst theme. There's themes of murderers, bestiality, sibling sex, things like that. You know, there's lots of themes, but this one, in my opinion, is the world's worst. But you know, you're all entitled to your own opinions. There might be worse themes that you can think of, but honestly, paedophilia is the most untalked about thing, and it's the most frightening word and thing. Like, it's not right at all. I think I'd rather be a murderer than a paedophile because they're both just as bad as each other as well. Like, I don't know. This OCD is a constant worry that you or someone else is a paedophile, or that someone secretly thinks you are, or a worry that they secretly think you think they are. So I'm going to start from my experience with this and talk about it fully, be totally honest with you guys. I'm really nervous. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea because I'm definitely not a paedophile. It's just paedophilia themed OCD, and it's ruined my entire life. Every single day it is on my mind. It's horrible. It stops me from going in children's parks. It stops me from being around my niece and nephew. It stops me from being around my cousins, you know, my family. Makes me feel like nobody can trust me and I can't trust them. It's horrible. I'm so nervous about this, but I'm going to do it because it's been on my mind. I've been thinking, I need to do this, I need to do this, because when I don't film, it's usually when I'm having a POCD really bad day and I don't feel like doing fuck all. I just feel like staying in my bed and watching a load of crap on Netflix and just not leaving my bed, just staying in here where I feel safe, protected, and the outside world is outside, you know? My experience, I should mention that when I was really young, a guy who later came out as a paedophile got me to put a nappy on him over his clothes. I remember that. I think it frightened me a lot. I don't remember fully, like he could have had an erection or something, but I just remember being frightened to do it. I don't know whether I decided to do it, but why would an adult let you do that in the first place? I think that's what triggered all of these obsessive paedophilia themed thoughts. So going on from there, my first horrible thought that I can remember was when my cousin was born and my auntie used to get me to change her nappy, and I used to worry that I was doing it wrong. So I would constantly ask for reassurance. I was only 8 years old myself, and it was the first nappy I'd ever changed, and I was frightened, and I did it quite often as well. Like, I'd change her nappy quite often, but I would constantly worry, and I'd constantly think, if I keep asking my auntie about this, if I'm doing it right, etc, she's actually going to believe that I'm a paedophile. Because I knew that there was such thing. My friends all used to say, oh, that teacher's a paedophile, or they'd all make laughy comments and stuff. The thought of that freaked me out because I had a little sister, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be awful if I was Wouldn't it be terrible? OCD latches onto the most terrifying thoughts that you could possibly think of. Like, there could be a house fire if I leave the door open. If I leave that on the floor, my mum could trip up and die. I'm scared I'm going to kill my mother. I'm scared I'm going to kill my sister. I'm scared that I'm going to lose control and stab somebody. It picks up on what we're most afraid of. I used to think I was a lesbian. I'm actually bisexual, but I truly believed that I was just a lesbian, and I'd obsess over it and worry about it because my family was so homophobic. I thought it would be the worst possible thing that I could ever be. So it just picks up on all these nasty thoughts that you think would be the worst possible thing, and then it makes you obsess and worry and check and check and check until you're so exhausted you can't take anymore. I would worry that I'd accidentally flung my arms up and touched a child inappropriately as I was walking past. So every child that I'd walk past, I would think that I'd accidentally just touch their privates. One time I actually did by accident touch my little cousin's privates. My arm swang, and I overthought that so much. I thought, does that mean something about me? Has that mentally scarred her? And it was literally only a second. Like, I did it by accident, you know. It wouldn't mentally scar any child, but it scarred me. The thought, it scarred me. It made me feel like absolute trash. My theme sort of turned a bit. I put it out on other people, so my theme turned into, what if they're a paedophile? My uncle at the time used to pat my little cousin's bum, like just normal, you know, pat 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 like you do. I overthought that so much. I thought that I should be telling people that my uncle does this. I should tell my auntie just to make sure that nothing odd's going on. I love my uncle so much. I know he's not a paedophile. The thing is, I knew he wasn't. It would be the worst possible thing if he was. So my thoughts went into a really dark place when I was about 10 years old. It was so dark, it was so horrible, and I was only 10, and it destroyed me. It just completely destroyed me. I would constantly try and be around him when he was around my cousin. I would constantly just watch every movement he did, every word he said to her, and I would overthink absolutely everything. I love you, when he said it, I thought, did he say it in a sexual tone? I overthought it so much, it was horrible. That went on throughout high school. I would constantly worry about him and thinking that he had this desire for my little cousin. It was just horrible, and the thing is, I know he didn't. I know he's a lovely person, but my OCD fucked me over big time. As I was getting older, I kept worrying about myself. Like, I would see like younger children and I would think, God, did I just look at them funny? Or like I said, did I accidentally brush past them, like touch them in the wrong area when I was walking past? And it would be constantly on my mind. If the word paedophile was mentioned, I would go bright red. If the word toilet or pants or knickers or anything like that was mentioned, like sister, younger sister, 3 years old, 2 years old, my face would go completely red and I would start shaking, and I would think everyone would think that I was a paedophile. And that has never gone away. Like, even now I worry that people will think I am. So me posting this now is going to be extremely hard, because this is the hardest OCD that anybody could possibly go through. So please believe me when I say I'm not. The reason why I'm posting this is because I don't want somebody else to go through all of this and suffer alone. I don't want that, because nobody had these types of paedophilia themed OCDs. When you're worried that everyone thinks you are, OCD can make you worry that your partner thinks that you're dating another girl, or worry that you know, your partner thinks that you are dating a man, you know, like another man whilst you're with her, or etc. But nobody has the worry that everyone thinks that they're a paedophile. I looked it up online, and there are social anxious people that have this theme online. Obviously they wrote this blog like in 2008, and it was on like an old blog, so like there's no way I can get in touch with those people and talk it out with them and talk my struggles about this fucking horrible OCD out. So before I go any further in this, I want to explain the difference between an actual paedophile and a paedophilia themed OCD sufferer. I'm going to explain the differences between those two. A paedophile wants the law to change. An actual paedophile would want the law to change. That's the most terrifying thing. If the law changed, that would make us feel disgust. We'd worry about everything. It'd be the worst possible thing in the world if the law was changed, because we're constantly worried that we're worried for a reason, because that would be horrible if we were. A paedophile knows that they're a paedophile and is more afraid of people finding out. Us guys, we're more worried about what people would think if we were, but these guys are more afraid of people finding out that they are. So actual paedophiles are more worried about people finding out that they are. A paedophile doesn't question it. They seek out these horrible thoughts. They don't push them away. So if I get a horrible intrusive thought, you know, like of like a sexual image in my mind of a child, I push it out and I try and like get rid of it. I feel like it means something about me. I feel like I'm a horrible person, etc, etc. But a paedophile really likes those thoughts and want to have those thoughts, you know, all the time. They want to indulge on these thoughts. I also want to talk about groinal responses, because this is something that made me feel really disgusting until I found out what it was. If you guys don't know what a groinal response is, a groinal response to an intrusive thought. So usually it's the most random intrusive thought, like I will just be going past a child and I'll think, what if I get a feeling down there, and then it happens. That's my groinal response. It always happens when I'm walking past a random child. It could be like a really, no offense to ugly children, but it could be a really ugly child and suddenly I'll get a groinal response and I'll feel really shit and worry that they saw, even though I'm a woman, they wouldn't be able to tell if I had a groinal response, but because I've noticed it, it freaks me out. They're horrible, and the worst part of this is groinal responses. But there's a good thing that I read on my OCD site. A psychiatrist or a therapist, I can't remember, told this girl that you can even have an orgasm off of intrusive thoughts. I never have personally, but you can, and it does not mean anything about you if you get an orgasm from an intrusive thought. It just means that the thought was sexual. So it could be any sexual thought, whether it be about a child or an adult, because it was sexual in nature. That's why you get a groinal response, not because you actually enjoyed it, not because you indulge on those thoughts, you know. So the thing that a therapist will tell you to do is expose yourself to these situations, and in my opinion, I do not think that that is good for paedophilia themed OCD, only because it makes it worse. It makes it pop up more, it makes you question it more, and makes you worry about it more. It does not get rid of it, it just makes it worse with paedophilia themed OCD, especially if you're worried that people think you are. Then you're just going to worry about it even more if you put yourself in those situations. The way that I got over worrying if I'd accidentally touched a child in an inappropriate place, etc, etc. False memory OCD as well, I had a lot, where I would think that something happened even though I knew it didn't happen. Deep down I knew it didn't happen, but I truly believe it did. I thought to myself, fuck it, that kid isn't overthinking, is it? Probably never happened, and I'm the only one suffering here. Nobody else is suffering. I'm the only person suffering and torturing myself over this thought. What's the point of torturing myself if it's already happened? Even though it didn't happen, I thought to myself, what's the point worrying about it? Even if it did happen, it's been and gone, you know, move past it, just get over that one, get over that OCD thought. The OCD will come back and it will reoccur, blah blah blah. The only thing that helps with this is to just think, what the fuck it. If that's the case, then fuck it. If you're a paedophile, fuck it. I'm not. I know I'm not. My main worry is worrying that people think I am. I constantly worry if word like pants, knickers, anything like that, ages, I go bright red, usually. I feel like it makes the children uncomfortable as well, because when somebody says, do you want me to take you to the toilet, I instantly go red. I feel like it does make them think, what the fuck, why is she going red? My cousin was scared to go to the bathroom because there was blue stuff down the toilet. She said, is there blue stuff still down the toilet? I said no, but I went bright red because I thought, wouldn't it be awful if she thought that I'm just saying that? So I went bright red. So she found it nerve-wracking to go to the toilet on her own, and then her mum asked her, why don't you want to go to the toilet on your own? And obviously I went bright red because I thought, wouldn't it be awful if my cousin thought that I was a fucking paedophile? I've like done something in the toilet with her. OCD tries to fuck your life up. The only way you can get over this theme is to avoid it. That's the only possible way that I have found helps, is to avoid it. Just try not to be around children on your own, because that's what triggers it the most. I always make sure that I am in a room around the adults and the children at the same time, because I feel too nervous to be in a room on my own with a child. It's horrible because I have a beautiful niece and a lovely nephew, and I feel so scared to be in a room on my own with them, just in case people think that I'm being a paedophile, or that they'll come in and mention pants or knickers or anything like that and I'll go bright red. It's fucking awful. Kids will be kids and they'll like pat your bum or something and then I go bright red. It's torturous, and I've had it since I was really young. With my cousin, I couldn't even change her nappy without overthinking, asking my auntie if it was okay, if I'd done it right. I'd always do it in front of people as well. I wouldn't change her nappy on my own. I felt really uncomfortable doing that. I used to avoid it. The reason why I avoided changing my niece's nappy is because I didn't want to overthink it. I changed her nappy a couple of times, but I would always make an excuse like, oh, it's too smelly to do, or blah blah blah. But it's because I would overthink it because of my fucking OCD. It's awful. That is the OCD story, the pedophilia themed OCD. It is the worst type of OCD that you could possibly have. It drains you. I'm going to overthink this. I'll probably think you guys think I'm a paedophile now. If my sister watches this, she'll think I'm a paedophile. Everyone probably thinks I'm a fucking paedophile, but I'm not. No, I'm fucking not. I like men, okay, and women actually. I want a child of my own one day, but I can't have it with this fucking OCD. It's made me want to die. This is how bad. It got me to a really bad stage at one point in my life where I thought, I can't go on with this OCD. I can't live with this. It creates suicidal thoughts. This themed OCD creates suicidal thoughts because it's the worst type of OCD that you could have. I mean, cannibalism, that probably is like really bad as well. Thinking you could possibly be a cannibal or that somebody else is, you know, things like that. But like, children are the most vulnerable people in the world, and having this is awful. It wrecks you. You want a life, but you can't have one. How can you work in a shop when children are constantly going to come through the door and their parents, and the word knickers might be mentioned, or the parents might think you're a paedophile because you go red in front of their child, you know? It's debilitating, and I can't talk to anyone about it because they might think I am one. It's a mental illness that I'm trying to get through. That's that for this video, guys. If you want me to talk about this more, then I'll be happy to do so, because it's something that I feel like everyone needs to discuss if you're going through it. Talk on the internet about it. If you tell somebody close to you, you'll probably overthink it, but if you tell somebody that you don't know online, then it could possibly help. Or somebody else that has it, talk to me, like message me. I'll leave my links in the description as always, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.